This presentation will explain how teachers can add tests or quizzes to Engrade. You'll need to open your gradebook and select the class you would like to test. Select the Create a Test or Quiz tile on the left-hand side. Once you have done that, you will have several options. The first thing you'll want to do is to create a title for your test. The subject and grade levels will be set automatically. If you choose, you can set a time limit to the test. Students can complete a test over multiple periods or multiple days, as long as you have not closed the test. Under Display Options, you will be able to select whether or not students can view and navigate the questions beforehand, whether you want the questions to appear in a certain order, whether or not you want students to have options to use calculators and protractors, and so forth. There will be custom instructions on every test and quiz reminding students that they are using the internet and to not use the back buttons. But there is also a description category where teachers can add in directions as well. Once you have set your guidelines, you'll click the Submit button. From this point, you'll need to begin selecting questions. Click the Add New tile and then the Question tile. Eventually, you will have questions in a question bank set by standards that relate to your curriculum, or you can refer back to previous tests and quizzes that you have made and select questions from those as well. There are lots of different question types that you can choose from. I will explain what some of them look like throughout this presentation. However, each of them comes with step-by-step instructions on how to create that type of question. Once you have created your test or questions, you can preview tests or individual questions at any time, and there are multiple places where you can assign to a different class. This is one of them. You can turn your test on or off manually or have it automatically appear at scheduled times. Here is another place where you can add or assign the test to different classes. Once you have set those guidelines, you'll click the Assign to Class tile. Once you have created your test, you'll want to see what it looks like from a student's point of view. Here's what the student sees when they log into your class. On the left-hand side, they will know that they have a test or quiz waiting for them. The number 1 will appear inside the red circle. They should click on Tests and Quizzes. From there, the name of the test or quiz will appear, and the option to take the test now will appear. This is an example of a multiple choice question. In this case, students have 4 different choices for this particular fill-in-the-blank question. They can choose one, or they can shade out choices to eliminate them from the possibility, making the test a little bit easier for using process of elimination. At the top, students will be able to track their progress. This student has completed 3 of 16 questions. If students get stuck on a question that they would like to come back to, they just need to click the Mark for Review tile. Once students have completed the question, they'll click Save and Continue. This is an example of a short answer question. These questions are answered by students typing their response in the space provided. Responses are limited to 500 words or less. This type of question will need to be manually graded by the teacher at the end of the quiz. Here is an example of a bucket question. Students are given categories, and then they need to manipulate the tiles so that they slide into the correct category. Sometimes you can set it up so that the tiles can be used more than once. At the top, you can see where a question has been flagged as marked for review by a student. The flag appears below the question, and this will stay there until the student goes back and answers that question. Here is a sample of an ordering question. Again, students need to slide the tiles in the appropriate order to answer the question. When students finish the test, they will have a screen letting them know if any questions have been marked for review. In this case, this student has 1 question which has been marked for review. It is also flagged at the top. The student will want to go back to the test to finish that question. Once they have done that and they have finished, they will then be prompted to finish and turn in. Once students finish and turn in their test, they will have a screen letting them know how many points they have received so far. It is important to remind students this is not their total points if there is an essay question. Teachers need to review the written answers and award the points for that, so they are not shown here. This score could also be incorrect. If you have an essay question, the student's points have not been considered, therefore their score could possibly go up. Teachers also have the ability to change point values and override the system. Once the student has finished the test, this is what the teacher will see. When you log back in, you'll see that students have completed your test and you'll want to view results. By clicking on the blue triangle with the white exclamation mark, you'll be taken to each student's individual test. You'll be given the information as to what they scored correctly and what they scored incorrectly, and you also will have an option to override the possible points. Sometimes you'll want to give students partial points, but the system will not automatically do that for you. Here is an example of what some of the other types of questions look like. Again, you can change points for any question at all. Once you have scored each individual student, your whole class will appear with a score. It's up to you to save this test to the gradebook. You must click the Save to Gradebook tile in order for the score to be automatically uploaded to your gradebook. If you forget to click this, the score will not appear in your gradebook. You can also do an item or standard analysis once students have completed the test. This is an excellent tool for you to analyze data on whether or not students achieved mastery on certain skills, or whether or not students had difficulties or challenges answering certain questions.